We're on Front Street, just south of Chestnut, near the Tun Tavern marker. The Tun Tavern is another very, very old tavern in the city. It was built in 1686 by Samuel Carpenter, and it was actually on Water Street. So we're a block over from where it was actually located. He built the Tun Brewery and Tavern, so in many ways it was like today's modern brew pub, where they brewed and had a tavern right next to each other. The Tun is a huge cask that can hold ale or wine, and it holds about 200 gallons. And so the use of the word Tun Tavern was an indication of how much beer could be on hand at any given time. So they held about a ton. The Tun Tavern's most noted for being the birthplace of the Marines. It was actually a committee that was chartered by the Continental Congress, and they met at the Tun Tavern to figure out how much it would cost to outfit 2 warships in 1775. It's most noted also for being Peggy Mullen's Beefsteak House and the Beefsteak Club, one of many clubs in the city that would meet together to share a common interest. The Beefsteak Club would meet on Saturdays and eat beefsteaks at Peggy Mullen's Beefsteak House. Another claim to fame for the Tun Tavern was that it's credited as being the birthplace of American Freemasonry. So the Tun Tavern was an old tavern. It was around for a long, long time, and it was a very important one, being right here near the center of the city. Here we are at the Man Full of Trouble Tavern, located at 2nd and Spruce Street. It's the only standing building that was a tavern during the colonial period. It was built in 1759. They've done archaeological studies here. They have an inventory of the widow who ran the tavern. And so we have a really nice idea of what kind of place this was. What's of interest to us today is to see how small it is. Many of the early taverns started out as people's houses. And the way this tavern is described is as having a kitchen in the basement, the eating and drinking area on the first floor, and a couple of rooms to let upstairs. And that's the Man Full of Trouble Tavern. Here we are at Front and Market Streets, which was the site of the London Coffee House. Coffee houses were places where wealthy merchants and ship captains could negotiate deals and be away from the rabble of some of the city's other taverns. This tavern was started by William Bradford, who operated the Pennsylvania Journal newspaper. In addition to that, being here at Front and Market Street, we had a twice-weekly market in Philadelphia that met on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So this was a hub of activity. It was a hub of commerce, and there was a lot going on here, not to mention the fact that when the times of the Revolution rolled around, William Bradford was a big advocate of separating from the Crown. And there was a vacant lot next to the London Coffee House where a lot of different activities took place. In addition to having a slave market, immigrants who came who owed ship captains their money for their passage could sell their time or be sold as indentured servants to people. There was also a lot of other public speaking, games, and other things that went on at this vacant lot next to the London Coffee House. The London Coffee House served as a communication center, not only because William Bradford published a newspaper, but because all the ship captains and other people coming to the London Coffee House could bring newspapers with them, and they could be displayed on the walls, and you could get news of ship movements, news of what was happening in other ports up and down the coast. So this was a real primary source of culture, communication, and probably was a stagecoach stop, and was a very active hub during the Revolutionary period.